Morant with a running start. Elevates. Oh, it dunks. Oh, my goodness.
Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn. His heave is good. Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining.
Conley now with three. Count it. A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance.
Adams going long. Morant. He hit it. John Morant, insanity.
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. Grizzlies win edition. My name is Keith Parish. The Grizzlies had technically a perfect weekend. They opened their homestand with 2 wins. One was a virtually flawless blowout. The other was a not that pleasant slop fest over a weakened Wizards team. But big picture, you get both of the wins. Start off this homestand 2-0. For the season, the Grizzlies are 4-0 at home. They are 5-0 when they start their preferred non-Jaren starting lineup. The defense is trending in the right direction. It seems the last 3 games, Portland, Charlotte, and the Wizards were the 3 best defensive rating games of the season. So a lot of good stuff for the Grizzlies. Now, the manner in which the Grizzlies beat the Wizards on Sunday doesn't give you the happiest and most confident feeling. And also, they got a little dinged up. Steven Adams hurt his ankle in this game. In the post-game press conference, he said in rather colorful language, "It's not okay." That's my paraphrase of him saying his ankle was messed up. So he might miss the second night of the back-to-back as the Grizzlies play on Monday night. That is an 8 p.m. Central Time. That's a home game. If you're in Memphis, go out and get there. If you're not in Memphis, you can join me for a playback watch party. I'll be doing a playback watch party for the second half of this game. So roughly 9:15 or so Central, I'll be doing a playback in my playback room for a virtual watch party. But we don't know the fallout of this one. Also, at the end of the game, Ja Morant seemed a little bit banged up. His back seemed like it was troubling him. So we don't yet know, as of Sunday night, what the injury report will be for that game. But again, going back to the big picture, 2-0 on the weekend, and thus we celebrate those wins. Let's start with the Charlotte game as far as breaking this down. That one was fun, okay? 130-99. The Grizzlies got up by 20 in the first quarter. Dillon Brooks tied his career high for the most points in a first quarter with 14. He made 4 3-pointers in the first quarter. The Grizzlies got out to their biggest lead of the season in the first quarter. They hadn't led by 20 points all year. They led by 20 points in both games this weekend. Of course, in the Wizards game, they basically gave the entire lead back. They did, in fact, give the entire lead back as they eventually trailed to the Wizards in the second half. But the Grizzlies got up by 20 and then eventually got up by 44. Everything was clicking. Dillon finishes that game with a team-high 23 points. He made 6 of his 7 3-pointers. The 6 made threes was one off Dillon's career high of 7 made threes. The team overall was 16 of 36, 16 3-pointers, quite obviously very, very good. As a team, they shot 44.4%. This was the 5th game of the year where the Grizzlies shot over 44% from 3. In the entire regular season last year, they only shot over 44% from 3 in 8 games. So 8 of 82 games last year, the team shot over 44% from 3. 5 of the Grizzlies' first 9 games this year, they shot over 44%. So the 3-pointers were falling, and they just ran the Hornets out of the gym. I mean, the Hornets did not have LaMelo Ball, haven't had him all year. Gordon Hayward was out. They just could not keep up in any manner. P.J. Washington had a horrifying game from the field. P.J. Washington, a guy I'm pretty enamored with as like a backup. You know, if the Grizzlies could get their hands on him, they probably can't, but he did not win himself over any fans with his performance in this one, going 2 for 15 from the field. And the Hornets had no answers. It was the first game all year the Grizzlies had held an opponent under 100 points. They would go ahead and follow that up with their next game on Sunday against the Wizards. Another big hero from the Hornets game, the most spectacular stats, probably it goes to Steven Adams. Steven Adams set a franchise record for first half rebounds. Zach Randolph still holds the record for any half rebounds, but he had 16 first half rebounds. He had a double-double in the first half. That's the 6th time in his career he's had a first half double-double. He finished the game 13 points, 19 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. He did that playing slightly under 22 minutes. In the StatHead database, which goes back to all box scores through 1983, no one has ever posted those numbers. They've never put up at least 13 points, 19 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks in such little playing time. I mean, obviously, if you're playing that well, you normally end up playing more. But since this game was out of hand and he had no reason to come back in, Adams posts this very unique stat line, 13, 19, 4, 2, and 2, and does it in under 22 minutes. Pretty incredible. He absolutely dominated the glass, dominated the Hornets. The Grizzlies, rebounding's been a problem all year. It was a big problem in the game against the Wizards on Sunday. It was not a problem against the Hornets, as the Grizzlies, for like most of the game, they were plus 20 in rebounding. I don't know how you get up by plus 20, that quickly. I mean, I guess when you make your shots, there are fewer rebounds for your opponent to grab, but they were dominating the defensive and offensive boards. When asked about, how he dominates the games through rebounds, he said, quote, "I'm a big bastard." So that kind of explains it. Steven Adams, not one to mince words.
Early in the game, you really control the boards. Is that something that just comes naturally in a game like this, or?
Yeah, I'm a big bastard, mate. You assume so, eh? Yeah. Don't expect one of these little dudes to control the boards, eh?
Right.
Yeah, so.
Another fun thing about this game, we had a lot of exciting alley-oops, and not your normal alley-oops. We had Santi Aldama throwing one to Steven Adams on a fast break. Brandon Clark threw an alley-oop to John Conchar, where Conchar jumped out of the gym. This was one where just everything was good, just enjoyable and fun. You had Ja Morant, who really brought his scoring average down by only scoring 12 points, but he picked up 11 assists, so he got a double-double, and he was a plus 40 in the 25 minutes he played. Desmond Bane, he scored 19 points. 15 of them came in the third quarter. By the way, he leads the NBA in fourth quarter scoring. I was telling you how he was 4th in second half scoring. He maintained that second half scoring streak by doing 15 points in the third quarter of this one. He also, on his way to 28 points on Sunday, scored 14 in each half. So for those of you who really care about the first and second half breakdown of Desmond Bane, he's keeping the pace going relatively for his second half scoring. That's basically everything you need to know, I guess, for the game against the Hornets. It was such a blowout, and everyone looks good. It makes everyone's net ratings and lineup data. It basically ruins them for a while until we get more, because it was just so positive for everyone. Like Santi Aldama had a huge bounce back game. The team is still undefeated when Santi Aldama makes more than one three-pointer. He had 12 points, 5 rebounds, a steal, 2 blocks against the Hornets. David Roddy had another actually really nice game. Not only did he knock down 2 out of 5 three-pointers, scored 11 points in his time on the court. He also had some nice screens that he was setting where he freed other shooters. He freed Dylan Brooks on a flare screen, and he had another one in the second half to get John Conchar an open 3. Jake LaRavia got in the game in this one after getting a DMP the game before. They went with a normal 10-man rotation until it got to be blowout time, and they cleared the bench. Tyus Jones scored 11 points. He's not had his shot totally working this year. He did not make a three-pointer, but 5 out of 6 on his 2-pointers. Finishes with 11 points. And then, of course, at the end of the game, Kennedy Chandler, Vince Williams got some playing time. So a nice, huge blowout victory, a relaxing way to kick off the homestand. Then you get the Wizards. And basically it started off, as you dreamed. It seemed like everything was going great. You get out to a big first half lead. You really run all over the Wizards in the second quarter. You're having fun. The starting lineup is killing it. Then you're working in this second unit we talked about, that Chris Harrington and I talked about last week over on his show. This Tyus Jones and Desmond Bane, when Desmond Bane comes back in, playing alongside a front court of Jake LaRavia, Santi Aldama, and Brandon Clark. That worked perfectly. The Clark and Aldama minutes still being very, very nice on the season. Those continue to be good defensive minutes for the Grizzlies. You get up 17 or so. You go into halftime up 14. In the third quarter, you pull it out to a 23-point lead. And you're thinking, we're just going to run this shorthanded team out of the gym. And then you forget to rebound. Steven Adams leaves with that ankle injury. While he is out, you really get attacked on the glass. You concede a 19-0 run in the third quarter. You eventually fall down in the fourth quarter before the starters bail you out. And it is your same old heroes. Like Ja Morant did not have a great game. Ja Morant had his least efficient game of the year. He was 9 for 27 on his field goal attempts, only gets 23 points. 23 points on 27 shot attempts. But Desmond Bane keeps this incredible season going. The 28 points, 4 made three-pointers, made all 6 of his free throws again. Desmond Bane has made multiple three-pointers in 26 consecutive games. That's 26 consecutive regular season games that Desmond Bane has made at least 2 three-pointers. He usually makes a lot more than that. Like for the year right now, Desmond Bane is averaging 4.1 three-pointers per game. That 26 straight games of making multiple three-pointers is the 11th longest streak in NBA history. So Desmond Bane was huge in this one, providing the offense and being the only player who could basically make his three-pointers. That's not true. Jake LaRavia hit 2. One felt like a very awesome heat check. The second one he made, that's where it felt like, okay, the Avalanche is going to start. We're going to run these guys totally out of the gym again. We're going to have another big blowout. It did not happen. The team made single-digit three-pointers, 9 for 29. The good news is they still won the three-point battle as the Wizards were a putrid 8 for 41, which is just a nightmarish number. These teams combined to make 5 three-pointers in the second half. The Wizards were 3 for 20 on threes in the second half, and the Grizzlies were 2 for 9 and lost the second half overall 54-46. The offense completely abandoned the Grizzlies. I mean, the formula for the team this year has been the three-pointers have gone in, and the offense has been strong enough to overcome a weak defense and weak defensive rebounding. Now, that wasn't necessarily the formula for victory in this one. This is more of a, we had the more elite players. Bradley Beal did not play in this game. Bradley Beal was out with health and safety protocols. The Grizzlies get a little bit lucky not having to face Bradley Beal. I mean, maybe they would have played better if Bradley Beal had played, but the Grizzlies pulled this one out at the end because of the superstar plays of Ja Morant. Yes, very inefficient game, but down the stretch, when there's a 9-0 run where the Grizzlies seize control of the game and put it away, it's Ja Morant making spectacular plays, driving towards the basket. Dylan Brooks, who had a bad game, he made big plays down the stretch. He had that and one over Kristaps Porzingis. Also, Jake LaRavia closed this game. Very interesting. They did not go with Santi Aldama to end this one. And also, very crucially, Steven Adams came back in. I don't know if the Grizzlies win this game if Steven Adams does not tough it out and play through this ankle injury in the fourth quarter for the Grizzlies. Because of the Steven Adams ankle injury, we did not get the normal rotation. We did not get those fun Aldama and Brandon Clark front court minutes on the second unit because Brandon Clark was playing with the first unit, and we got more small ball, and we got the Grizzlies getting thoroughly dominated on the offensive glass. Daniel Gafford, they had no answer for Daniel Gafford. Daniel Gafford, he plays like 12 minutes a game. And the fact that Pete Pranica and Brevin Knight were just going on and on about how, it's Daniel Gafford can make a huge impact on a game. He's a guy you got to account for. It's like, guys, that's such a bad look for us. I mean, not for Pete and Brevin, but just such a bad look for the Grizzlies and their inability to grab offensive rebounds. The Grizzlies are 30th in the NBA still in opponent second chance scoring. And Brandon Clark's just too small. And Brandon Clark as the only big, those lineups are tough. Then we had Aldama briefly as the only big in a lineup. It didn't work out for the Grizzlies, but thankfully, Steven Adams was able to pull it together, was able to finish the game, and due to the heroics of Ja Morant and Desmond Bane on the offensive end, the Grizzlies get the victory. Let's break down that game a little bit more. I'll talk about some of the individual performances, and I will do that right after this short break. All Grizz all the time. Stay connected and follow at MemGrizz and at Grind City Media across all social channels, including Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for breaking news, one-of-a-kind content, and all the perspectives you won't find anywhere else. Okay, in the Wizards game, Ja Morant finished with 23 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists. His scoring average has taken a dip with these last 2 wins. Still turning the ball over, probably too much. He really struggled getting into the paint and not shooting the floaters and making the floaters in this one for a while. He was driving into the teeth of the shot blockers and trying to initiate contact. It worked a couple of times. I mean, one spectacular finish. I don't know how he really did it, which is something we say a lot about Ja Morant shots. But then he wasn't getting the whistle. He wasn't getting to the line, and he kept going into the lane and I guess over-penetrating, for lack of a better term. And that's why he missed all these shots. Most of them were not jumpers. He missed a lot of shots in the paint. Dylan Brooks had a very, very bad offensive game. He still gave us the defensive help. He grabbed rebounds, importantly, in the fourth quarter. He made his last 2 field goal attempts, but he was 1 for 8 in the first half. He was 2 for his first 12 from the field. Did not make a three-pointer the game after making 6 out of 7. He comes back down to earth with 0 for 4. Santi Aldama offensively really struggled again. I mean, in the first half, he was getting his hands on everything. It was great. He finished with 3 steals for the game. He got 10 defensive rebounds, 2 assists, but he missed all 4 of his 3-point attempts. Steven Adams, again, a huge factor. 4 points, 10 rebounds, 5 offensive, 5 defensive, and 1 assist. But he was a +9 in plus minus, and it seemed like in the second half when he wasn't there was no chance. They desperately needed him. Off the bench, Brandon Clark led the way. He had 16 points. Apparently he had family in town, and he likes to play well in front of family. He had 16 points, 5 defensive rebounds, 2 blocks, but he was tasked with doing too much, I feel like, and he was unable to keep Daniel Gafford off the glass. And, the entire second unit lineup, all this stuff with Roddy and Conchar playing as like the 3-4, those lineups continue to struggle. The Grizzlies as a team, they usually struggle this year when Tyus Jones is out there, and it all contributes where you're just not getting those. You're not rebounding as an entire 5-man unit. Like, it's not one person's job to get the rebounds. Like, Steven Adams does a great job because he's huge, in his words, a big bastard, and he can block the guys out, and he's one of the best box-out men in the league. But they are not rebounding the ball well, and it's actually something that Taylor Jenkins mentioned post-game. I don't feel like I've heard him talk about rebounding much ever, just saying that's one of this team's Achilles heels right now is the defensive rebounding. It's really harming him. And they had a lot of trouble, clearly, against the Wizards, but all's well that ends well, of course, and they get the win. But Brandon Clark offensively, 7 for 8 from the field. He's even working that foul line jumper. He's kind of making these like 16-footers, which is why, by the way, I stand by it. He's going to start making 3-pointers this year. I feel it. He's going to make a couple. But this was the 14th game of Brandon Clark's career where he's had at least 7 field goal attempts and made over 85% of his field goals. That is the most such games in franchise history. Marc Gasol is second with 10 of those games. Brandon did not have a lot of help offensively off of the bench. LaRavia did make those 2 big 3-pointers. He finished with 6 points. Tyus Jones had 7 points. Roddy and Conchar combined for 5 points. We're not getting the scoring that much from Conchar. Roddy, looking fine. This game seemed like LaRavia was slightly ahead of him as far as the priority with him coming back in at the end of the game. Xavier Tillman played a little bit because of the Steven Adams injury. The Xavier Tillman minutes continue to be very, very rough statistically for the Grizzlies so far this year. Like, the team's played 10 games, and now I guess it's okay to look at a little bit of lineup data, but the Grizzlies' worst 2-man net rating, it is with Xavier Tillman and David Roddy on the court. This is among the 38 combinations of players who've played at least 2-man combinations that have played at least 50 minutes so far in the year. The Grizzlies are minus 30.5 net rating when those two guys are on the court together. Edging out Tyus Jones and Ja Morant, who actually on the strength of this game got out of the bottom, raised their net rating for the season to negative 22.2 when they're on the court together. The defensive rating when Tyus Jones and Ja Morant is on the court together, 133.5. Not awesome. But again, a win's a win. And being able to get up to a big lead and then blow it, but then having the composure to get back together and pull it out in clutch time, that is a sign of a good team. Like, blowing a lead, you say that's a sign of a good team? Well, no. But it happens. It happens in the NBA. You let your foot off the gas. You let someone who's shorthanded, undermanned, fight their way back into the basketball game. Then how you deal with your business from that point forward, you're able to execute down the stretch. You're able to execute and get baskets in clutch time, and you get a victory. Yes, that is the sign of a good team. And winning your home games, also the sign of a good team. So hopefully the Grizzlies continue that with a huge test. I mean, playing the Boston Celtics is a huge test. Playing the Celtics on the second night of a back-to-back, possibly without Steven Adams. I'm just guessing based on the way he talked about his ankle injury. I feel like it wouldn't be shocking if they rest Ja Morant on the second night of a back-to-back, and because he didn't look that fresh. Maybe he'll want to play. I mean, every NBA team plays on Monday night. Election Day is off. Go vote on Tuesday. And then the Grizzlies are back at it on Wednesday night against the Spurs. So maybe they will play their full complement of players. The Spurs, after their hot start, the opponent for Wednesday, they are not playing as well. Some of their guys have been out in and out of the lineup. So not as formidable as they seemed after the first couple of weeks. But like the Celtics, all right, this is a team like the Mavericks, one of the elite NBA teams, a team you can test yourself against. Yes, it's awesome to win 3 straight games. But the Blazers without Damian Lillard, the Hornets without LaMelo Ball or Gordon Hayward, and then the Wizards without Bradley Beal, not really who you're comparing yourself to. I mean, it's good to win. It's good to take care of business. You beat the teams in front of you on the schedule, but now we talk about this team, the Grizzlies, wanting to be a title contender, wanting them to be one of the top 5 teams in the league. You're comparing yourself with the Boston Celtics. Like that's the level of team. That's the pedigree of team you want to compare yourself to. It's a little bit tough. They will be rested, and the Grizzlies, yes, they're not traveling, so that's a little bit better. But your third game in 4 nights. Second game of a back-to-back. That's one of the reasons it's a later tip-off. They tipped off the Sunday game at 5 p.m. Central, tipping off the next game on Monday night at 8 p.m. Central. Hopefully those extra hours will reinvigorate the legs where Desmond Bane and Dylan Brooks and John Morant will be able to give you heavy minutes once again. Finally, since we are 10 games into the year, nice round number, I'll just give you a little team reset with where some of the stats rank overall for the team. They are 7th in offensive rating. This is the NBA.com number. 7th in overall offensive rating. 22nd in defensive rating. So, hey, they are trending up. Again, the last 3 games, the best 3 defensive games of the season so far. They're 15th in three-pointers attempted per game. They are 6th in three-point percentage. After the Hornets game, they were all the way up to 3rd, going 9 for 29 against the Wizards, drops them down to 6th in three-point percentage. They're 12th in effective field goal percentage. Remember, they were bottom 10 last year in effective field goal percentage. They are 22nd in opponent offensive rebounds. Like I said, 30th in opponent second chance points. They're 14th in pace. They're 18th in steals per game, 13th in blocks per game. 7-3. That's a strong start. That's a great start. I'm very happy personally where the Grizzlies are at. Jaren Jackson Jr., you think, is that another week? They said he's been doing some 3-on-3 practicing. About to move to 5-on-5 practicing. So hopefully Jaren Jackson Jr., the return is somewhat imminent. Once he returns, you plug him into the starting lineup, and then you get more and more, I think, of those Brandon and Santi minutes off the bench. You get LaRavia probably playing just at the 3. Will it be LaRavia or Roddy? Maybe that will be the question there. Once Jaren is back, it's only going to be one of those guys. You're going to have way less small ball. You're actually going to protect the rim. Yes, Jaren is not an above-average defensive rebounder, but adding a 7-footer to the court is going to help the team rebound. Moving LaRavia or Roddy from the 4 to the 3, or Conchar from the 4 to the 3, or from the 4 to the 2, being able to play bigger lineups is definitely going to help, I think, the defense overall. And, of course, Jaren's defensive versatility should carry this team to better heights than we've seen so far. But I'm enjoying a 2-0 start to the homestand. All wins are good wins. We will watch that Celtics game on Monday night. If you're not in Memphis or if you're not going to the game, please check out the playback watch party room with me where we can watch the Grizzlies broadcast together, and I'll just provide some commentary and extra analysis live and in real time. And also I'll be in there with my buddy Joey Devine. We'll be cracking jokes, having a good time watching the Grizzlies. And then the Grizzlies play the Spurs on Wednesday. And then on Friday night, national TV, ESPN, a late game as well, 8:30 Central. The Timberwolves come to town. The return of Kyle Anderson. If you're in the Nashville area, we'll be having a Grizzlies watch party at Noble's Beer Hall. So anyone in the Middle Tennessee area, come and hang out with me at Noble's Beer Hall on Friday night. So virtual watch party on Monday night, a actual live in-person event on Friday night at Noble's Beer Hall in Nashville for Grizzlies Timberwolves. Anyways, I hope you have a great Monday. I appreciate you listening. Talk to you soon. Go Grizz.